Good evening and welcome to the Coon Rapids City Council meeting for Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. If you could please rise and join us for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Griscoviac.
Here.
Councilmember Butler.
Here.
Councilmember Novak. Councilmember Geisler.
Here.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Here.
Councilmember Carlson.
Here.
Mayor Cook.
Here.
One absent Novak.
All right. Why don't we adopt this evening's agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Second. Motion by Carlson, second by Geisler to adopt the agenda. Any discussion or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the agenda is adopted. Next is to approve the minutes from the February 18th City Council meeting.
Move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Butler. Any corrections or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes are approved. We have 4 items on our consent agenda this evening. And the first is to receive the 2024 year-end gambling expenditure report. Staff has received and reviewed the semi-annual reports for July 1st through December 31st, 2024, showing gambling expenditures within the city of Coon Rapids and trade area for the 6 organizations at 15 locations. And the combined net profit this period was reported at $1,226,764.13. All organizations achieved the 60% expenditure requirement within the trade area for the year, and we're looking to receive the gambling expenditure report for 2024. Next item on our consent agenda is to adopt Resolution 25-38, accepting the Community Strength Foundation donation in the amount of $400.76. And the Community Strength Foundation has graciously donated $400.76 to offset costs for the 2025 Winter Concert Series. We're looking to adopt a resolution formally accepting this donation, which is required per state statute. And of course, we are grateful to the Community Strength Foundation for their generosity. So we're looking to adopt Resolution 25-38, accepting the donation of $400.76 from the Community Strength Foundation for use in the 2025 Winter Concert Series. Next item on the consent agenda is to adopt Resolution 25-39, accepting a donation of training for the new Police Department K-9. We're going to slow this one down and kind of read through this, because this is a really big deal. Mr. Mark McDonough, a retired long-term K-9 handler for the City of Coon Rapids Police Department, owns and operates a police K-9 training business named McDonough K-9. Mr. McDonough is donating the training program associated with our new Police Department K-9 to the City of Coon Rapids in support of the Police Department's K-9 program. Recently, we accepted a grant from AKC Reunite for the purchase of a new police K-9, and Mr. McDonough has indicated he wants to donate the training for the new dog and handler to the police department. The training program for the dog and handler is approximately 16 weeks of classroom learning, practical exercises, and testing. Once completed with training, the dog will be certified as dual purpose, meaning it can be used for criminal apprehension and narcotics searches. The new dog will be named King and will be partnered with Officer Meng Yang. The team will start training in mid-March, and the value of this donation for training is $14,000. So we're looking to adopt Resolution 21-39, accepting the donation of the training for the new Police Department K-9 King from McDonough K-9. And with that, offer him a great deal of appreciation. The next and the final item on our consent agenda is to receive the schedule of electronic payments. Minnesota statute requires a list of transactions made by electronic funds. Transfer be provided to the City Council at the next regular council meeting. So we're looking to receive the schedule of electronic payments from February 13th, 2025 to February 26th, 2025. And that completes our consent agenda.
Motion to accept the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion by Carlson and a second by Armstrong to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion or questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Carlson?
I know we'll be saying a letter of thanks to Mark McDonough, but Mark McDonough was an incredible canine handler, incredible canine trainer, very successful. He and his dog Mac won the state championships for canine just before he retired. And so his services are just, they said, we're real blessed to have him help us out that way with our new dogs.
Yeah, and we're very appreciative. Any other discussion or questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And the consent agenda is adopted. Under bid openings and contract awards, item 6 is to consider resolution 25-2 sub 9, accepting the bid and awarding contract for the 2025 full-depth reclamation project 25-2. We had a full presentation on this from Mr. Hanson at our last meeting, I believe it was. And this is to do the, reclamation and, I'm missing a word here. Full depth reclamation, okay. This is on Exeon Boulevard from Northdale to Exeon Street, Avocet Circle from Exeon Boulevard to cul-de-sac, Zilla Street from Exeon Boulevard to the cul-de-sac, Yellow Pine Street from Exeon Boulevard to the cul-de-sac, Flintwood Street from Main Street to 126th Lane, 126th Avenue from Flintwood Street to the cul-de-sac, 126th Lane from the cul-de-sac to 126th Avenue, 126th Avenue from Alder Street to cul-de-sac, 125th Lane from University Avenue to cul-de-sac, Alder Street from 125th Lane to 126th Lane, and 126th Lane from Alder Street to University Avenue. The engineer's estimate for the base bid was $490,227, and Northwest Asphalt came in. Their alternate bid was $574,345.96. Mr. Hammer, anything you want to hit on this?
Mr. Mayor, you're doing a fabulous job there. This is not our reconstruction. This is that early season mill and overlay or FDR, but because the pavement section on these roads is too narrow, a mill and overlay will not work. So if you recall, when we bid this, we separated it in two because we weren't sure where we were on our estimates. As you can see, we had a lot of activity, a lot of interest, and some really good competitive bids. So I am pleased to recommend that we award both the base bid and the alternate, and that will leave us ample dollars to do reclamite and crack sealing and everything else that we have planned in the budget. Northwest Asphalt has done this for us several years, along with some recon projects, so they are a good contractor, and I'm, again, happy to make that recommendation to award it to Northwest Asphalt. And the total project amount of $574,345.96. That is the base bid and alternate.
Excellent. Any questions of Mr. Hammer?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Carlson?
make a motion to adopt resolution number 25-2 sub 9, awarding a contract to Northwest Asphalt Incorporated for the base bid and alternate in the amount of $574,345.96 for the 25-2 full depth reclamation project.
Second.
Motion by Carlson, second by Butler. Is there further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 7 is to consider resolution number 25-8 sub 9, awarding a contract for the 2025 well rehabilitation program. Mr. Himmer, are you happy with where this came in?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I wish we would have had a few more bidders, but we did get two. The range fell on either side of the engineer's estimate. E.H. Renner has done this project for us in the past. This is well within our project budget, and I would be happy to recommend E.H. Renner for both the base bid and the alternates. That total is $353,413.
Excellent. Any questions of Mr. Himmer?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Carlson?
Make a motion to adopt resolution number 25-8, sub 9, awarding a contract to E.H. Renner and Sons in the amount of $353,413 for the 2025 well rehabilitation project.
Second.
Motion by Carlson and a second by Armstrong. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 8 is to consider and receive lawful gambling report and authorize payment to Community Strength Foundation. Somebody want to?
Mr. Mayor, sure, I'll
Ms.
take this one.
Lenzmeyer.
As outlined in the memo, since 2012, the council has indicated its intent to contribute part of the charitable gambling revenues to the Community Strength Foundation. This is an overview of the lawful gambling for the year and a request for council approval to authorize an expenditure of $99,141.64 to the Community Strength Foundation.
All right. Any questions of Mrs. Lenzmeyer?
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Councilmember Carlson.
Make a motion to accept the 2024 lawful gambling payments report and authorize the expenditure of $99,141.64 to the Community Strength Foundation.
Second.
Motion by Carlson and a second by Butler. Is there discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 9 is to consider resolution number 25-40, amending the 2025 fee schedule to add fire inspection fee for food trucks. This looks like another Mrs. Lenzmeyer one.
It is, Mr. Mayor, council members. This item is a request to approve an amendment to the fee schedule to allow for a fire inspection fee for food trucks. As part of the licensing, we have discovered that a fire inspection is not being done, and so that is a state fire code requirement, and the fire departments and city clerks from Coon Rapids, Blaine, Fridley, and Anoka Champlin have been meeting to discuss trying to make this uniform throughout the county so that we can make it easier on our trucks. And the recommendation is that we recommend this $100 fee that would cover a fire inspection. Anyone getting a fire inspection in any of the participating cities can use that in any of the others without having to do it again.
That is really nice collaboration. Good work. Any questions on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember
on this
Griscoviac?
one, we talked about this in fire protection a little bit. I see the fire chief's not here tonight, but is it just between the fire departments of Coon Rapids, Blaine, and Fridley, and Anoka Champlin, or is it every city in Anoka County? I thought it was countywide.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Griscoviac, we're beginning with the cities that are listed,
Okay.
and as we get things established, up and running, and the fire team is comfortable, they will add other cities within the county.
Okay, yep, that sounds like kind of the direction they wanted to take. Made sense for everybody, so good to see this.
All right. We have a,
Mr. Mayor.
yes, thank you.
Ms. Lenzmeyer, and there's also hope to expand maybe across the river too, to some of our neighbors. I mean, you got Anoka Champlin here, but also other areas. It's not just restricted to Anoka County, since this is a city burden to carry this inspection.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Geisler, yeah, that is absolutely something we can discuss as we grow this. If they've got the same type of fire departments and they've got qualified inspectors, I'm sure we would be open to that.
Awesome, thank you.
All right. Any other questions on this?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Carlson?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 25-40, amending the adopted 2025 fee schedule to add fire inspection fee for food trucks.
Second.
Motion by Carlson and a second by Armstrong. Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Let the minutes report or show that Councilmember Novak is here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Item 10 is to consider resolution 25-42, amending the budget for Golf Course Restaurant. We're burning through that equipment out there, Mr. Anderson.
Mayor Council before you, yes. Mayor Council, that means we have a very busy kitchen, which is
No,
actually.
that's awesome.
That part's good. So, yeah, before you is a recommendation to replace refrigerated work table. Essentially, what that unit is the rotisserie, which is a main part of our restaurant kitchen. All the meat, the steaks, the chops, the chicken, et cetera, is stored in that for a while before it goes onto that rotisserie. So it's a very important piece of equipment to be working properly, and it's just not holding the correct temperatures, which obviously is a very important thing for it to do. It has some other functionality as well. So several fixes were attempted on this unit, but it just didn't take. We thought we'd be just fine to get through this year, but it's not going to make it. There were a couple other items noted in your memo that were in the budget, the griddle and the cooler. The griddle's been fixed. We believe that will last a few years, which is great. And the cooler, we're not sure that we'll ever need that additional cooler in Mully's. But you may see that come back in a couple years, we'll see.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Anderson? If this is your first look at restaurant equipment, it's always very expensive compared to everything else.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Geisler?
I'll make a motion to, that staff, sorry. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 25-42, amending the 2025 golf budget for the purchase of a replacement refrigerated work table.
Second.
Motion by Geisler and a second by Butler. Is there any further discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor, just
Councilmember Griscoviac?
a comment. I appreciate the creativity here. This wasn't in our 2025 budget, and the fact that we can get a few more years out of that griddle with some repairs is great. And the fact that that cooler, other one, may not ever be used. I like the fact that we're taking that money, putting it in here, and actually having some left over into the golf budget. So good job on that. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. And item 11 is to consider the lease agreement for the golf cart fleet and GPS units. Now, see, I've got Ms. Hanson's name on this one, but is that who I want to talk to, Mr. Anderson?
Mayor, Council, I'm super excited about these new golf carts and the GPS units. However, this gets a little in the weeds beyond where I'm comfortable. I'll yield to Ms. Hanson.
Way out in the rough, huh?
Yes, perfect.
All right, Ms. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Before you are two lease agreements to be considered for purchase of our golf carts and rental of GPS units. So the first is a 5-year standard lease agreement for rental of the golf cart GPS units. That totals $231,000 over 5 years and is only available through a lease agreement. And Tim can speak to any benefits to those if you have questions on those. The second one is a lease purchase agreement, so our finance purchase for the golf carts. Before you is a 5-year agreement with a $1 purchase option at the end. So this allows us to use the golf carts, and then at the end of the 5th year, if we choose they can last longer and we want to buy them, then we can have them beyond the 5 years and still have value to be able to trade in for a fleet later on. Or we can, at the end of the 5th year, just re-up for a new agreement. We have in the past funded golf carts through either an interfund loan or we have other options to do equipment certificates, but we found that the lease purchase agreement is the best option at this time.
Questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Geisler?
Ms. Hanson, will this be then paid for through the enterprise fund from the golf course then?
Correct, yep. Both of these agreements would be paid for with cart rental fees.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Armstrong?
Have we done the dollar buyout on these things before?
Councilmember Armstrong, typically, the last few that we've purchased, we have purchased and then funded with an interfund loan with the revolving construction fund. Okay. So we purchase them outright, and then the golf fund pays back another fund. We have found that in this particular case, that the revolving construction fund, we want to preserve that fund balance just because we have some larger projects that we're anticipating, and we don't want to drain that too much. And then typically golf carts have lasted 3 to 4 years, and the ones that they're wanting to purchase have longer batteries, so it allows us to have a longer life. And so a lease purchase option is a great way to purchase these.
Yep, I'd agree. I mean, I've done things like this on a smaller scale for our business, but I'm curious to see how this one works out, because this is a great idea.
All right, any other questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Griscoviac?
So these carts, I mean, we've got a 5-year term on those, 5-year lease. Are the batteries warranted for 5 years, and is the mechanical nature of those all covered for 5 years? Do we have like a service agreement for 5 years on these things?
Mayor, Council, yes, we do, and the batteries, the most important part of these carts, are fully warranted for 5 years, regardless of usage levels, which is a big part of that.
Yeah. I have a feeling we're gonna be looking good in 5 years when we get these back for $1 and can upgrade. That and the fact that they have these extra, these GPS units with that geo-catching and all that fencing are on there, I think is gonna be a great addition to just the experience out there at the golf course, so. Here we go, more golf carts.
All right. If there's no further questions, does somebody want to actually put a motion forward?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Carlson?
make a motion to adopt Resolution 25-41, authorizing the city to enter into the lease agreement with Huntington Bank for golf carts GPS units. Adopt Resolution 25-43, authorizing the city to enter into the master lease agreement with Huntington Bank for golf carts. Authorize the mayor and city manager to execute the agreements. Further authorize the city manager to execute any additional documents necessary to carry out the agreements.
Second.
Motion by Carlson, second by Geisler. Is there further discussion on this? Hearing not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. And then item 12 is to consider a letter regarding the potential closure of the Northstar commuter rail service. Nicely done.
Yep.
Nice letter. Does anybody have any questions or concerns with the draft letter?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Butler?
I just wanted to thank the city manager for it. It was a really helpful letter just to walk through what's happening, and, I'm excited to vote for it.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Geisler?
And for what it's worth, I will encourage our neighbors to also draft their own versions. I know that there's some discussion, but if everybody is speaking about this, I think it is better for everybody up and down the line as it exists. So I encourage them to speak up as well.
Yes, and the gist of this letter is, and it's kind of in that second paragraph, Coon Rapids has invested heavily in the areas adjacent to the Riverdale station, including tax increment financing to subsidize several multifamily apartment buildings next to the station that were designed to work in conjunction with the commuter rail. Furthermore, the station has provided access to and from the Riverdale Shopping Center area, which is a major economic driver. It's basically to make sure that there's that we get some concession if they're gonna take out the Northstar train, that we get bus service, we get some concessions for the infrastructure that we have put into place and the investments that we've put in place. So,
Mr.
that's
Mayor?
well done. Councilmember Carlson?
Our available services declined quite a bit, and I know that probably had to do with the use, but hopefully that's going back up again. It'd be nice to be kind of back to where we were pre-COVID on service, and have those buses run hourly instead of every other hour. It'd be also nice to have some investment in some shelters if we can get some help with that.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, and I'll just add that we've covered it pretty well, but we have had several conversations with other jurisdictions that would be similarly affected should the service go away, and coordinating with Anoka County. And then finally, I'll just mention that we've had some preliminary conversations with some of our state represented folks, including Senator Abler today called me and just encouraged us to really push on what we might need at that station site in the future, given the services being taken away. So that's something we can continue to talk about and work with our partners on to figure out what that might be.
Yeah, very good.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Geisler?
And I, chatting with Metro Transit a little bit too, just about, from my time on tab and what's there, I think there's an opportunity to maybe revitalize the usage at Foley Park and Ride as well, as kind of a mid and a south connection. And if we're switching over to buses or something else of maintaining some service, let's get the value out of all the properties that are in the city here. So I would encourage some level of replacement service, because transit's one of those things that If you build it, they will come, but if you don't have it, they can't ride it. So there's really no other way to get more riders without having more buses, or more use, or more available service. So I think that is what's plagued this, and getting more frequency up and down, I think would serve the community very well, and our neighbors as well.
All right, is there any other discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember
just
Griscoe?
to add to what was said here, but, you know, there's, not only is the city of Coon Rapids invested in this, but we were at the Coon Rapids Business Council meeting this week, and a lot of our businesses have invested around this kind of infrastructure too, and, you know, need this type of stuff to get their employees to and back from work. So I appreciate the letter, and I will contact legislators as well.
All right. So what, do we
No
need a
action.
motion on this, or?
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, you are. Councilmember Carlson.
Make a motion to approve the attached letter or modify it as necessary to allow staff to provide a consistent message regarding the city's position on the potential termination of the Northstar commuter rail service.
So, hang on, so to clarify the motion, we're approving the attached letter.
Yes.
Wait,
Yes,
all right.
yeah, that's the, yeah, that would be my goal, thank you.
okay.
Should I scratch the modify part?
Mayor and council, you know, I think it's fine, just says it's necessary to tweak a couple things in there. Councilmember Geisler and I talked about some verbiage that it would be very minor, just spelling out Metropolitan Council instead of Met Council, things like that, so I think it's
Okay, so you would like that part in there. That's great. I thought. I was trying to
Originally, it
clarify.
was intended to, if council wanted to modify it tonight,
That
they
was how I
could, they
saw
could
it.
move that, but, you know, I guess if you want to leave some discretion for the city manager to make minor adjustments, that would be helpful.
Okay, I'll be quiet, I'll retract mine, I'm gonna go with your
You're good,
original
Mr. Mayor.
motion.
Yeah, I was questioning myself for a
Yeah.
second.
I'm so sorry,
You're all
Councilmember
good, you're all
Carlson.
good.
Okay,
I will second the original motion.
we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have further discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Griscoviac?
staff members will need to sign this, I take it, so will that come in front of us electronically?
Yeah, Mayor, council, I think we can, probably the likely route would be a DocuSign that'll hit your email this week.
Very good.
Okay. Very good. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. And we are to the open mic portion of the meeting. Is anybody here to address council for open mic this evening? Okay. I got one guy looking at you. All right, we'll move past open mic. I don't have any reports on previous open mics, and we are to other business. We have kind of a big day coming up Saturday. Saturday is the Northwestern remodeling show at the Andover YMCA from 8 to 2. It's a really a great event. Do they still do food shelf things where you bring canned items, I think, for the food shelf? Pretty sure. Otherwise, it's free admission, and it's just lots of contractors, lots of, you know, the staff is there from the city of Coon Rapids and Andover and Anoka. There's just, if you're thinking about doing anything to your home, there's somebody there to talk to and get information about it.
And Mayor, you are correct, non-perishable food items and donations for a CBC food shelf will be collected by the Boy Scouts of America on site, so.
Yeah, it's a great event.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Butler?
I was just going to say too, even if you're not thinking about doing a renovation in the near future, it's great for new homeowners just to understand what's out there. You can understand what things cost. Contractors can help explain that question you're too afraid to ask your dad. Like, there's tons of things you can do if you're a new homeowner, even if you're not ready for that project, to learn there. And it's just a great event. I met my electrician there last year.
All right. Yes. Councilmember Carlson?
Just want to point out that there's only 2 winter concerts left for the winter concert series. The next one is March 13th at 7 p.m. It's Kenny and Friends Country Music, Coon Rapids Civic Center, 7 p.m. It's $8 for adults and $5 for kids 12 and under.
All right. Any other business to come before council?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Butler to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.